everybody, and welcome to the Winter Spectacular. My name's Tom Vassell here at the Dice Tower. The Winter Spectacular is something we started a couple years ago, and we have a blast at the end of each year. We take some time, and we're going to do a lot of live stuff and pre-record it, because I'm pre-recorded right now, we're all talking about the year 2022. Looking back at this year and kind of celebrating it. We're going to give you our best games of the year, but we're going to give lots of top 10 lists. I think looking at my schedule here, I believe we have 20, 30 different top 10 lists for you, all about the year 2022. We are also going to be playing some games, some new games, some sponsored games, and some games that we think that you would love to watch playing over the course of this, and we just hope you have a really good time starting today and going over the next 4 days. We're also debuting our new studio, which was one of our Kickstarter stretch goals. And so we're about to jump over to that studio in just a second to start Board Game Breakfast, to start this whole thing off. But before we get started here, first of all, I want to say a big thank you to all of you. You know, we have different sponsors from publishers, and we definitely appreciate them. And, you know, Game Nerds sponsors us. We appreciate that. But we really appreciate you. You sponsored our Kickstarter, and that really helps us out, especially this year where there's a lot of inflation and things. You all really came through, and I want you to, if you like our content, to consider doing that again. Our Kickstarter is launching January 9th, which is not too far away, less than a month away. So we're just asking that you consider that again for next year if you like what we've done. Okay, so we're going to be going through a lot of top 10 lists over today, tomorrow, and so on. And so I'm going to say this now, just so that we don't have to keep saying it day in and after day. But we didn't play every game over the course of the year. Nobody on Earth has played the game. I would like to posit that I think we at the Dice Tower have played more games than the vast majority of humans on Earth that came out in 2022. But we just can't get to all of them. So we're going to give you the best of our abilities of the best games. And you know what? Sometime in 2023, we'll revisit our top 10 lists and say, hey, this is the same, or this might have changed, because things might change as time goes by. Also, it's kind of tricky sometimes to tell exactly when a game came out. So you'll see some games and go, didn't that come out in 2021? Well, according to us, and we do internal things, we look at Board Game Geek, and we're like, nah, this game came out in 2022. Then there's games that say 2022 online, but we already, like for a good example, would be Vagrant Song, fantastic game. But we already took a look at that one in 2021, and that was on several of our lists, so it can't be on our list again this year. Sometimes we just have to make those calls, but we try to do our best to give you a good picture of this year. Well, that's it. You really don't want to hear me blather more about that. I just want to thank you for being here. We're going to have a bunch of different streams that we'll be jumping to each day. We have a schedule up where you can go look at that schedule, but we'll be playing through one stream. And then in that stream, you'll have a link to jump to the next one. And we'll go back and forth. We'll end somewhere between 5 and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time each day. We'll start at 9 in the morning or 10 in the morning each day. So giving you 8 to 9 hours of content for 4 days straight. After those 4 days, we're going to take our Christmas break, a Christmas holiday, in which case you hopefully can just come back and watch this stuff. And then after that, we'll be back with more content for you all. Anyway, once again, Merry Christmas. Welcome to the Winter Spectacular. Let's get started. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
All righty, well, welcome. We have a lot of things to talk about here at the beginning of the board game, the Winter Spectacular. I don't know why I was saying board game thing. Anyway, and it's Board Game Breakfast. Also, it's episode 456.
Hey!
I love the numbers of that.
That happens only once every 10,000 years, so we're set.
Like meteor showers?
Season 2. So when I first started podcasting, another podcaster, whose name I won't mention, but they're a famous writer, author. Anyway, they came up to me and they said, you shouldn't keep numbering your podcast. You should at a certain point stop and start season 2. And I seriously considered that and then never did, and I was kind of glad. but I think the season 2 only works if your podcast is actually set in seasons.
Yeah.
See, At the Table is season 2 on the Dice Tower
I guess.
podcast.
It's decade 2. So there's that. But anyhow, folks, welcome. The video's not public. Well, we'll make it public, I guess. But anyway, this new studio that you see, that we just put a video about us building it over the weekend. So if you want to see how we put this together, and I'm really happy with the shelves behind us, and you also notice the tables in our other studios. They're from All Play. We're starting a sponsorship in 2023 with All Play, and formerly known as BoardGameTables.com. And so they do games, they do tables, they do bags, my favorite bags in the world.
Right.
And
we may have yeeted 10 of those through the internet screen at people who entered the contest.
Is that how we ship stuff?
Yes.
Oh, makes sense now.
It's like
I
Tron.
think you just like the word yeet. All right, anyhow, don't forget, our conventions are still open. Dice Tower East, there's just a little bit of, well, actually the block filled up, the hotel block filled up, but there's a little bit, I think they're still adding people if you want to get into that. And Dice Tower West, there's still plenty of room for both cons. Consider coming to them next year. We also want to do some shout-outs to some of our Kickstarter backers. Who's our first one we're shouting out to?
Giuseppe Fabri.
Yes, thank you. And Andy and Una, and Lindsay Grossman, Thor Soderlin, Tracy Troutman, Seth and Luke Keys, Matthew Decker, Ryan Campbell, and Wesley Waters. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
For sponsoring the Dice Tower Kickstarter, which, again, is starting January 9th, 2023.
That it is.
Okay, last thing, and this is an important thing here before we start Board Game Breakfast here. We have a contest for you all. This contest is sponsored by Forbidden Games and is for a copy of Raccoon Tycoon. I should mention here on the side, we're going to do lots of contests throughout the whole Winter Spectacular, so
That we are.
keep an eye out for that. But anyhow,
Raccoon Tycoon up there.
you can win this copy of Raccoon Tycoon, which is a game I really, really enjoy. Very quick, fast turns. And there's also a sequel, Lizard Wizard. All you need to do is say, what year did Raccoon Tycoon come out in? I'll give you a hint. It's not 2022.
Is this the invention year or the publish year? What's happening?
I'm going to take a minute here and explain something.
Okay.
Tomorrow, December 13th, is my birthday. I'm opening my birthday gift one day early because I want to do it here in front of y'all. My brother and I have had this tradition for
Is it not
about
on the calendar?
7 years.
You wrote it on the calendar.
Is it on the calendar?
Yeah.
It's the same birthday as your wife.
Which is why I completely forget about Christmas.
I
This
see
is
who's
why-
more important,
This
Tom.
is why I remember your wife's birthday. I don't know your birthday, but I know your wife's birthday.
I do know Laura's birthday because of that. So, my brother and I have had this tradition for, oh my gosh, coming on maybe 8, 9, 10 years now or so.
It's been a minute, yeah.
His birthday is a few days before mine in 5 years. And one year we bought each other the worst looking Christmas album we could find for each other's birthdays. And we both did it unbeknownst to each other. This year I sent him a very reggae Christmas.
I wouldn't listen to that.
Oh, yeah. It's the, not, worst is maybe harsh. Most
Unique.
obscure, strange,
Yeah.
unique. This year he has sent me a Neil Diamond Christmas.
I would also listen to that. What is wrong with you all?
I'm very excited about this.
It's okay, Tom. You're an old man.
Yeah.
Actually, Neil Diamond, I actually have listened to actually an album. I don't know if it's that one. After like 3 or 4 songs, I'm like, that's good, but let's listen to something else to break it up. You can only listen to so much, I think, so much of that voice in a row.
I'll tell you, the hardest one to get through was a tie between the William Shatner Christmas from 2 years
yes.
ago and 3 years ago's Bob Dylan Christmas. Let me tell you, Bob Dylan's voice has aged like milk.
Turns into yogurt and cheese.
Well, happy birthday to Chris. I definitely remembered it.
Mm-hmm.
One day early.
Look, I'm really struggling just remembering my deal. Happy birthday and Merry Christmas. I combined them both for you.
Our anniversary is also this weekend, Tom. You should remember that as well.
That is so, okay.
Neil Diamond
All right.
Christmas up at the jukebox.
We get to go on a cruise for your anniversary.
We do.
All right, so anyway, Board Game Breakfast is beginning. Let's keep going.
Hi, it's Stella.
And Tarrant here from Maple University.
Today we have bee and bread.
Yes.
The game, not the actual bee and bread.
Yes, 2 things made of grain.
I was at Essen, and this is where the game launched, Essen 2022. And they actually had beer and bread. Like literally the beer and bread for people to consume for the day zero of Essen. That was amazing. I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Was it delicious bread?
I did not try it.
Oh,
Why didn't you ask me about
what a
the
fun
delicious?
story.
I did not try the beer. As you know, I don't really drink alcohol, especially overseas. But this is a two-player game by Scott Elms, whom you probably know with the Tiny Epic series games.
Yes.
And this is just 2 players.
And it's a good little push and pull 2 players. It's got
yes.
those sorts of things that I really like to see in a 2-player game, where it's got drafting, it's got things where your choices can give your opponent stuff. In this particular case, it's you can get a good engine to get a whole lot of resources, but if you draw resources over your limit, you have to offer the excess to your opponent.
That is amazing. I was like, no, but yes. And this has got a unique drafting system. So the drafting is different each round and then back again, and then the resources limited is very, very difficult decision sometimes, which you usually like.
Yep, and it's got your classic bunny moose style of thing where your lowest highest is your score. So
Yes.
you've got to generalize. So a lot of nice things packed together there.
And that's Beer and Bread. Check it out. And thanks for watching.
Hello, this is Oliver, and today I'm going to be talking about a cooperative game. And I don't really talk about cooperative games, so this is new, and we're talking about a game that I've recently played and recently lost. And this game is The Spill by American Dagger Games. What I like about The Spill is that I actually really like cooperative games. I haven't played a ton of them, but I really like cooperative games, and I think if you like cooperative games, you should totally buy this, or if you want to try out a new cooperative game, this is the game. So, another thing I like is that it's really short. Like on the side it says it's like 50 minutes, so if you want to play a short, quick cooperative game with friends and family, then this is a perfect game to play. Another thing I like is actually the theme of the game. It's to contain the oil and to save the sea life. So, but the thing I like about this is there's characters that are trying to contain the oil and maintain it. Like there's parts of it with the oil implemented, and then part of it with the marine life implemented. And then for a 2-player game, 1 player plays 2 characters. So if you're playing a 2-player game, you get to like do 2 different things, which I think that part of the game is really cool. And finally, there's this dice tower thing where you're rolling the dice into it, and it like separates into different quadrants. So the dice kind of decides where the oil lands and how much oil lands in a certain spot. So I think that's kind of cool, and it's kind of a new thing that is implemented into the game that not many games are doing. And yeah, I think that's really cool, and I think this game is really cool, and I recommend it. And I think that's all for today, and have a great day. Bye.
All right, so we've been throughout this year going back and doing 20 years ago, and 30 years ago, taking a look at games that came out 20 and 30 years ago. Well,
50 years ago now.
I'm not that old, Chris.
All right, you know what? Briefly, let's look at 50 years ago, which is 1972.
Mike is that old.
Does anyone here remember that year? Anyone at all?
No, I was a year old.
Okay, in 1972, Boggle came out.
Hey,
Oh,
Boggle's actually
okay.
really solid.
And
Yeah.
I gave it a 3. And Waterworks came out. I gave Waterworks a 2. I apparently didn't like this year.
This is a very good year.
But I did give Triple Yahtzee a 7.
Okay.
Dealer's Choice a 4. Ultimate Mastermind a 6. Admirals a 2, because Admirals is a blatant ripoff of Stratego. Spoons I give a 4 to, because Spoons came out in 72. Huh?
Spoons is dangerous.
What's My Word? 1970. I gave it 7.5. And Word Mastermind, I gave that a 1 to. So 50 years ago.
Wait,
I gave,
Wordle came out
I was gonna
50
say-
years ago?
Ah, stop stealing my jokes, Chris.
Tom, will you press the top button on your thing? I think you're muted on your mic for some reason. You're coming really well through everybody else's, though.
Fantastic.
All right, I'm no longer muted. Okay, so.
Can we hear you now?
So 50 years ago, not a great year. But how about 20 years ago? You
Yes.
wanted to do a...
Let's look. So, well, actually, 50 years ago is fine. I don't want to like get on everyone's case like, oh, 50 years ago. But I will say that more and more online, I'm seeing people say that They don't make games like they used to. Good. This whole pretending things from the past, you have to realize sometimes as you say those words, you are just aged. You are now old when you say that. Yes, there are great games from the past, for sure.
Well, also, I mean, people say things like, well, they don't make furniture like they used to. Well, that's true to a degree, but also the cheap furniture that fell apart isn't the furniture that you see from 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true because it didn't last.
Yeah. So, yeah, the couch we bought last year might still be around in 20 years, or it'll be in a dump, or reupholstered, or I don't know.
The game we bought 50 years ago, when I was not alive yet, might be in the dump.
Anywho, so here's from 2002. So we're taking a look at the year as a whole. In 2002, these are the top 10 games that came out, according to Board Game Geek.
Okay.
Ranked number 1, Puerto Rico.
Classic.
Still it's still ranked 37. It was ranked 1 at one point. Mm-hmm. And number 2 is Age of Steam. That was also ranked in the top 10, now is 127. Then Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers. Hammer of the Scots, which was once touted as the best introductory war game that exists. Lord of the Rings Confrontation, which we talked about. Mexica. Wallenstein, which I still need to play with you guys.
Yeah, we haven't played
Cathedral,
that one yet.
which we finally got for the library. Star Wars Epic Duels, which is now unmatched. And Bang. I think that was 10. Now let's look at the one that has the most rankings, which I'm beginning to bet is still Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico,
And
then
then
Bang.
And bang, okay.
Then Carcassonne, then Age of Steam, then Pirates Cove, then Lord of the Rings Confrontation. Killer Bunnies came out 20 years ago, and The Quest for the Magic Carrot, Mexico, and Clans. For a while, Clans was the hotness. Did you ever play Clans?
No,
Or
I
its
didn't.
remake?
I
No,
played Clans of Caledonia. Does that count?
It does not.
No, and to the point where one of my
Faye is the remake.
one of my older friends in my Vegas game group, when we talk about Clans of Caledonia, we just call it Clans for short, and he'd get really excited. It's like, we're gonna play Clans tonight? Sorry.
Clans is a really, really abstract game. But for a while, I mean, I know where I bought Clans. I bought it in a game store in Atlanta, Georgia, as I was traveling through America at the time. And I was so excited. I played. I was like, this is it. It's just moving huts around and having majorities. And it's so boring.
Why were you traveling through America?
I was in Korea and I was coming back recruiting teachers to go back to Korea.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
Also, I hit every game store in the site. I was just like, I will buy all the. I bought. That was not a
How
good.
many suitcases
that was
did
not
you
a
take
good
home?
year. Well, 2 for me, 2 for my wife. There was clothes in one of them.
Did you ever play Hammer of the Scots? I see that it wasn't rated.
No, although I played another game from them. Not
Okay.
Hammer of the Scots. It was.
Screwdriver of the Norseman.
Where is Hammer of the Scots on here? So Hammer of the Scots is from a company called Columbia Games. So of Columbia Games, when I go look at their games, I played.
Must be from 20 years ago, Tom.
Nope.
You set the rules on this segment.
I did not even come close to setting it. We've killed that there.
All right, we're going to talk about Neil Diamond a little bit more here. Track number 1, Happy Christmas, War
Was
is
it
Over.
Julius Caesar?
Track number 2, The Christmas Song.
Was it Napoleon?
They really ran out of clever titles
Was it
by the
East
time
Fri-
they...
You know what? All right.
The
What
Christmas-
Anyway,
shape
so here's
is
my
Neil
thoughts
Diamond's
on
favorite shape?
20 years ago.
Square.
I think 20 years ago was a good year for games, for sure. Although you put Puerto Rico in the mix, and that's a big chunk of it. You take Puerto Rico out, we see the big games that everyone was talking about was Bang and Clans. But there wasn't any huge things going on. Carcassonne was just hitting its stride when Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers, and many expansions for Carcassonne came out this year, and for Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers. Carcassonne was in full swing. It was only a few years old. It came out in 99, so 3 years and doing a lot. But like I look at 2022, and 2002, I would have to work to make a top 10. And as you know, we both were able to make, not this year, a top 10, another top 10.
Oh,
and I was
man.
also able to make a top 10 surprises.
I
It was not on either of those other top 10s.
could have gone to 30 or 40. There were a lot of games I really liked this year.
I could do my top 100 of the year, although I don't know when we get to 100 where that would be.
Yeah, they wouldn't all be 7s or higher, but
They might be.
really?
Well, I played about 300 games this year,
Yeah.
so it seems to reason at 100 of them.
Now I'm curious, any given year, what percentage of the games are genuinely good games that you play?
Are you including, that we play?
That we play, yeah.
At
As
least
an
half.
office. Yeah.
At least half. I think.
I would say at least half are serviceable.
Yeah.
Serviceable to good.
But
Like a 6 or a 7? Is that what you mean by serviceable?
Yeah, like a 6. Like, yeah, I'd
Okay.
play that again.
that's true. Half at least are 6 or higher, for sure. But you know what? There's a lot of games that we don't play because we look at them and we're like, we go back and play another new good game.
Yeah.
We
So-
only have so much time, yeah.
Anyway, that didn't sound like we reviewed 2002, but we just did.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
All right, today we're going to be talking about Catch the Moon. This is a dexterity stacking style game where basically you have all these oddball-shaped ladders. You're trying to stack them together, intertwining them as best you can, going as tall as you can. There's 2 modes of play. There's a cooperative version where you're trying to work together to make it go as high as you can. There's also a competitive version where you're basically trying to make the other people around you mess up, have their ladders fall off. So it's kind of this weird version of the game where both of those are very viable. Both of them are a lot of fun, where they make you kind of stack differently.
I love the way that this game looks on the table. Once you put all the ladders on, once things are falling, both of those things are great. And it looks so cool. It's definitely a game that if you were out and about anywhere and you walked by and you saw this on the table, you'd be like, what's going on over there? You would
Right.
immediately be drawn to it.
This is kind of geared towards kids, advertised to being a kid's game, but at the same time, when we play with our kids, they are chaotic and wild with it, which is a lot of fun, and it somehow works. But when you play with adults as well, they play such a
Yes.
different style of game. They're much more thinky about how can I, place this just right? How can I do the weight distribution on this ladder so it won't fall over, or maybe exactly so it will trip up the next person? They're thinking on a whole other level as you're playing with kids versus playing with adults, and both are a lot of fun. This is not just a kids game, this is kind of a family game overall.
Yeah, it is super fun to play with both of those groups, either with the adults or with the kids. It kind of like works everywhere. You can play it with anybody and people are gonna really like it. And because the rule set is so simple, this is definitely one of the games that you could introduce to people and it not being a thing. Like if you're waiting for other people to come over for a game night, you can play this real quick and it's not like you have to teach a lot. You just like, don't do that. The end, let's play the game.
Don't knock over ladders.
Yeah, so this was really fun. Everybody, if you want to hear more from us, you can find us on YouTube. We are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. Well, everybody, this is Ryan and Bethany. Hoping you have a happy, healthy breakfast.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Claim! Oh, I claim it as mine. Yes!
Has anyone seen my game Claim? Hey, have you seen a game called Claim?
Claim? Doesn't ring any bell.
It's all I've got left from my great grandma,
I'm so sorry.
and it's out of print. It's just I really miss her, and
I'm so sorry.
I need this.
Oh, but really, really sorry. I haven't seen it. I mean, I wish I could help you.
What's wrong with your hand? Why is it behind your back?
My hand?
Oh, my game Claim! Looks like the dream came to you.
Claim is a score-on game for 2 players. It's a quick trick-taking game. It lasts, 25 minutes. The uniqueness is that it's structured in 2 phases. In the first one, while playing cards, and there are several families with unique abilities, you acquire cards which you will use in the final round in the second phase. And the second phase, you will be with a standard trick-taking rule. The higher card on the leading suit will win the trick, with the exception of family's unique abilities. You will be getting winning cards that you use to score. The player with the most number of cards for each family wins. The family wins a certain amount of points. The player with more points wins the game. Crazy car, how do you win? Claim.
For the most part, you wanted to be using their special abilities that each faction has. An example is the dwarfs have a mechanic where it's the loser that's going to be grabbing the most of the
Exactly.
cards.
So if you know that you're losing a trick, play the dwarves. Okay, your opponent will win the trick, but you will get all the dwarves from the because of the unique ability. By doing so, getting the majority of dwarves and those juicy points. Thank you, Crazy Car. Claim. Ooh, I think I ruined the card.
Good morning, Board Game Breakfast. My name is Amanda Polk, and I've spent a lot of the first part of this year telling you about games that I was really looking forward to playing and what I was going to play in the meantime. And now I've gotten to play a lot of those games and wanted to let you know how it went. So today I wanted to talk to you about Flamecraft. Now, this is one I had talked about playing Creature Comforts while I was waiting for it because it's another game with a lot of really cute bits and really cute components. And I gotta say, I wanted to like this game before I ever knew anything about how it played. I just thought the art was beautiful and the pieces looked cute, and I was like, come on, game. And I lucked out because, usually that kind of thing works out really well, right? Not so much. I got really lucky, though. The game ended up being a great mid-weight game. Lots of fun, lots of cuteness, lots of table space. But I'm cool with that because everything that's on the table is really cute or beautiful or both. The shops are all different. There's a bunch of things. There's a bunch of variability in the games, even though it's pretty simple to learn and pretty simple to teach. So, Flamecraft, it's been a fun one. Glad I got to play it. Hope you get to play it soon, too. Let me know if you have any thoughts about this game in the comments below. And have a great breakfast. Bye.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if the IP and the mechanisms work together. Today we're looking at Dr. Seuss's Merry Grinchmas. This is a cooperative game where the players will play together to deliver more gifts than the Grinch. On your turn, you will score and move the Grinch the number of spots that you scored. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If he lands on A, B, or C, he will take one of these presents and take him to his mountain. If he lands on a present, he takes one random one from the bag. On the feet, nothing happens, but if he lands on somebody's house and they have a goodie, he will steal it from there. Then on your turn, you can choose A, B, or C, add it to one of your houses. If at any time you meet the requirements of one of these cards, you may fulfill it. The Grinch will always fulfill one if he can, the highest one that is possible. These are very simple to fulfill. Pink and purple, you just need a pink and purple gift. If you have that, you give it up, and you can score these points. After the players score 8 cards, they will compare how many they fulfilled versus the Grinch. Whoever scored the most is the winner. Everybody's playing against the Grinch. The IP works okay, and there's certain aspects of it does. I don't understand why I'm competing with the Grinch to deliver. Don't remember that in any of the stories, but here we say. It is thematic that the Grinch is going around taking the presents and trying to steal. That half of the game works. So what he's doing, what we're doing, not so much, but there has to be a game. So that's what we're doing here. So while the IP probably matches half of the mechanisms, it's actually a pretty decent little family game. There is a spinner in it. Don't let that scare you off. That's just a mechanism to move the Grinch around. I did like the set collection and some of the decisions, like to go for the bigger gifts or the smaller ones and how to score those out is really, really fun. My family really liked this. We had a good time with a lot of these games, and this one is like a legitimate board game, not just a small box card game. This one was a really good keeper for us.
All right. Well, I don't want to go over the whole schedule for the Winter Spectacular because you're going to see it there. We have it put up live, but we're going to be playing lots of games. When we're done with this, we'll be jumping over to playing Heat, Pedal to the Metal, a racing game. But the big thing is each day we have some a top 10 list going up. Today, me, Chris, Z, and Mike are doing our top 10 surprises of the year. Tomorrow, Mila, Chris, and Alex are doing their best games of the year. Wednesday, Roy, Wendy, and Joey are doing their best games of the year. And then me, Mike, and Z are doing our best games of the year on Thursday. Thursday also has the blooper reel, or the best moments of 2022 that we're closing out with. There's lots of different games, but there are lots of top 10 lists. Like, for example, today there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 top 10 lists going up today. No.
Including the live one or not including the live one?
Including the live one.
It's hard-hitting journalism, Tom. Don't oversell the spectacular.
There are 100,000 top 10 lists going up today.
And they're all fabulous.
Lots of things coming. You'll be able to jump each of the different schedules. Each of our different YouTube videos. You can find a link to the next YouTube video. So if you get behind or whatever, you can catch up by doing that. Anyhow, let's keep going on with this particular video.
Hey there everyone, it's Jen, the board game librarian, flipping some pages and pushing some cubes with my segment From the Page to the Table, where I pair books and board games together that share a common theme. So I'd like to show off today Maria Tallchief's autobiography here. If you don't know about Maria Tallchief, she was one of the first Native American indigenous folks who was a prima ballerina. She was a prima ballerina for the New York City Ballet in its kind of infancy. And she was clearly a favorite of George Balanchine, and his wife for a period of time. But Maria was a revolutionary in the ballet world and all of the work that she did to really promote ballet in the 1940s and 50s. Chef's kiss to her. So I was so excited when I opened up her story and Maria was in there. So this is the newest game from Underdog Games. It's for 2 to 5 players, ages 8 and up, 30 to 60 minutes. So in this game, you are an author looking to make 8 chapters of a book and fill your book with amazing and extraordinary women from history. And Maria's in there. I love it. The fantastic thing about Underdog Games' latest games is their attention to detail. They had an educational consultant team of teachers and educators as well as young people. So this game knocks it out of the park in so many ways. The diversity of the folks that they include in here, and the fact too the portions of this game go to the Malala Fund. I love it. It's great. This is a great Christmas gift, folks. I would highly recommend this for anyone in your life. So that's all for this week, friends. Happy breakfast.
Hey board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back on the breakfast, this time bringing you a competitive cooperative game. It's called Synchronized. Let's get right to the table and see how this plays. Synchronized is, you guessed it, a game about synchronized swimming. The players are going to break up into 2 teams. They can be as small as 2 versus 2. They'll sit across from each other and they'll have a whistle in between them. They'll have some rehearsal cards. That's the ones with these goggles on. They represent all the poses that a swimmer can have during the routine. We'll lay out, in the first round, we'll lay out 6 of them, and then each team is going to memorize the poses of the rehearsal cards on their side. Once one team feels like they have the memorization done, they'll snag that whistle, and that triggers that both teams will have to flip these cards over and rely on their memory to put on the routine. Each team has 12 cards in their deck, and this is the competition deck. We'll distribute all of those cards to all the players on that team, and then the players will take turns putting these cards out in order, trying to get the poses to match the specific spots in the routine. And then let's see how I matched up. Not doing well so far. That's what happens when you do it randomly. For every one of these that matched up, we would get a point. And you're trying to score the most points over 4 rounds. Plus, someone grabbed that whistle token. If they can match 50% of the cards or more, then they get a bonus 2 points. But if they don't, the other team gets it. And there's some lanyard. In rounds 2 through 4, we'll actually play one of these random cards here. And each one of these will change how the rehearsal or the competition is done that round. All right, so that's Synchronized, designed by Anna Maria Jackson Phelps and Amelie LaRoche. Until next time, les bon temps roulé.
All right, we got some items from the Board Game Geek store, which, by the way, is where a lot of our promos can be found. So, but let's take a look at some of these things here. So I have next to me, what am I looking at first, Mike? The coin, which I put on the bottom here.
Good choice.
Well done.
So this is a die.
Holy macaroni.
You spin it, then you do this, and I just rolled a 4.
Pick an end. How many numbers are on there?
There's 2 sides to it. So this one is 1 through 8, although you could just do a 1 through 4. So I could spin it like this, hit this, and that's a 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
This side is a 1 through 6 if you want to, or you can do a 1 through 12. So it's a D6, D12, D4, D8, north, south, east, west, and I believe it's also a 20-sided if you look at the Roman numerals on the outside, which is insanity. Roman numerals should never be used on dice.
Oh, Roman numerals up to 20.
I agree with that.
I don't know them.
I just rolled a 20! Yeah! Here's the thing, though.
How do you know that's a 20?
Because it's XX. Also a movie I shouldn't watch. this is a cool thing. I'm never going to use it.
I can't
like
see myself doing
it's cool, but yeah, it's more like look what we can do. If you brought one of these to a RPG and I was running it after a while, I'd be like, no, roll die.
You get to use a die now. Congratulations.
What do we got next?
But would you
Mike?
put it on a cute little? Yeah, I was like, would you put on a cute little easel?
All right.
You know, for display.
Well, this is nothing big. This is just a bag for Draftosaurus. But you know what? This bag is way better than the bag in the game.
It's true. They have
I
like a
like
little
how-
burlap sack.
I like how big that is.
This is going into. Actually, I don't know if it's going to go in ours because we built these little. I bought these little plastic things you pass around. Instead of holding them in your hand,
it keeps it
little
more secretive.
plastic
You have
things
dinosaur
pass.
cages. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like the opening scene of Jurassic Park where the raptor gets.
We
fits
have.
in the
I was
box.
like, we
We'll
have
keep it
other
in.
games though that I would put that in because it's so big. There's so many
Yeah.
times that I want a bigger bag.
Game's
That's not the only
called.
bag we're looking at.
We'll just cross out the giant named Draftosaurus. That'll look good.
These are bags for Fantastic Factories. Which, if I didn't have
Oh.
plastic containers holding these pieces, I would
Yeah.
use these bags.
Yeah.
These
that's
are better than plastic bags because
Are
you
they?
don't wonder what goes where.
Was the material? Okay, they're kind of a silky feel.
Yeah, it's the same thing that you can clean your glasses with these.
Ooh.
But they're not the kind of
gonna clean
microfiber
your
that like
glasses with
grabs your
these, so.
skin. I hate that feel.
All right, next we got Roll for the Galaxy. Now, for the life of me, I don't know why there are so many bags. And in fact, that picture I took, I forgot to put the light blue bag in it. So there's actually 9 bags. I don't think the game plays 9 players.
Oh,
no,
roll.
they're different dice. They're different
Yeah,
dice.
it's all the different dice color.
I was thinking Race for the Galaxy, and I thought, this is bizarre.
Shuffle the deck, split it up into 9 pieces, stick it in bags.
I wonder if these will fit in the game. If they hold the different dice, that's kind of cool.
I do like that.
It
But
is kind of cool,
Roll for
but
the Galaxy is one of the few games in our library that I think has an insert.
oh, I don't know.
Kill it.
Also, Roll for the Galaxy, last I checked, might have had both expansions crammed into that box, which you can do at your own peril.
But if you have bags, it'll fit better.
No, we're going to take out the expansions.
Better, worse, maybe.
I really enjoy the Rivalry expansion, but also it's a bear to teach.
It is.
Yeah.
Here's our last thing, and this is awesome. This is for the crew.
Oh,
Another bag.
So these are this is for the original crew, because these tiles replace the small deck of cards.
It's so cool.
So I can just put one in front of you. Okay, you need to collect the 8. You need to collect the 2.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Put these in the library. This is great.
It's so
Because that
good.
little deck of cards is fine, but you don't have to shuffle it now. You just throw everything into the bag.
I feel like we have one of those,
That's very possible.
as is. But we don't have the cool
And
bag.
I must have seen it, and I must have said it was cool. But when I opened it up this morning and looked at it, I was impressed all over again.
I saw it, I think, at Gen Con, and I almost bought one for ourselves, but
Maybe that's where I saw it, but I feel like we have one, so I'm not sure if I just saw
I
it.
mostly play
and
Crew
almost
Deep
bought it.
Sea now.
yeah, that was
Which
my
this-
hesitation.
Right, but this does make the original one much cooler. Anyway, those are the things from Board Game Geek Store. Check it out at BoardGameGeek.com.
Happy breakfast, everyone. Now, today I'm here to talk to you about Catan 3D expansions. And wow, it does, as you would expect, take seafarers and take cities and knights and 3D-ify it. And what more do you want? Well, some of the components do let it down. The gold coins, your Catan tokens, they're a little sort of weak for a very expensive expansion, but it allows you, this box, to get 2 different expansions into your 3D Catan, and I think that's a really nice way of doing it. I was almost surprised when they combined them, but it does make sense, because you can now go out and have seas sort of swirling through the middle of your boards, splitting the Isle of Catan into sections. You could have the main blob of Catan with islands round it. And it looks so good in 3D, it really does. It's an extortionately expensive expansion. I'm not going to beat around the bush there. It's very expensive. But if you've got the base game of Catan 3D, which you do need, it says it on the box, well, this is a good way of expanding your gameplay without having to go back to a non-3D version. It did feel when that launched, it was like, great, this is Catan 3D, it's really good. But what about expansions? And I was surprised they did this, because this is an expansion only for people that have got a super collector's edition. But would this enter your collection? Let us know in the comments section below. And until next time, enjoy trading sheep for clay.
Hey, I'm Jordan. This is Cascadia. I'm not late to the party. I have played this plenty of times over the last year and a half. It's one of my favorite games from recent memory, and frankly, probably one of my favorite games of all time if I figure that out, which I probably will. I just haven't quite done that yet. But I've been waiting for this game to come because I played it, thought it was fantastic, and it was sold out everywhere. And I was waiting because I backed it when Verdant was on Kickstarter. I backed it and added it to my pledge. And so I had to wait, even though it came back in waves at stores and online and things like that, and I just never bought it because I knew it was coming in the mail whenever Kickstarters come in the mail. So I had to wait over a year for it because that's just how that works. But I finally own it, and it, you know, what else can be said about Cascadia? You know, drafting game, you got these animals, you got these tiles, you draft an animal and a tile pair, you put it out on the table, you're getting landscape next to each other, you're getting these animals in different configurations depending on the scoring objectives. Lots, I mean, not a difficult game, but kind of a nice spatial puzzle that just hits me really well. Really enjoy Cascadia. And I've been thinking, what is my favorite game that I don't own now? Because for a while, this was my favorite game that I didn't own. And I'm trying to think of another game that I like, a game I absolutely love and I don't own for whatever reason, whether maybe somebody else has it or, you know, other reason. I think it might be, at this point, maybe Carpe Diem, because that one is just, it's just really ugly and not functional in the best ways. And so I think that's probably my favorite game that I don't own. I'm just holding out for a nice edition. So whenever, you know, Monolith or whoever wants to do a big Carpe Diem edition, I'd be all over that. But that's probably right now the game that I love the most that I just don't own. All right, I'm Jordan. Thanks.
All right, folks, that's the end of Board Game Breakfast. But that is only the end of the beginning of the board game, why do I keep saying that? The Winter Spectacular.
Are you saying this is the appetizer round and we have the feast ahead of us?
We're now heading over to Studio B, which is where Heat, that's our old studio, but Heat is already set up. We're ready to play it. That's going to start in 18 minutes. So we'll see you there. And then we got more top 10 lists. And then we got Avatar Rising.
Fire Nation Rising.
Fire Nation Rising. And then we'll be back in this studio here with the top 10 list. And then all kinds of stuff happening today.
Ooh, they get to see the first shot of the all-play table that we have set up.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. Well, we'll see you all there in 17 minutes. Until then, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
Have fun back in 20 years ago. Or I just go.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vassell and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production.